So number 3 for me, I went with a very general thing, but I do have some specifics. It was our trip to Australia and Fiji.
That is my number 1, okay? So you have hit my number 1.
Good,
and
gotcha.
And it's that entire trip, and it's so hard. All of those moments are spectacular that you've talked about, and there's so many more. I'll just shout out another one, which is when we went on the day trip. You actually weren't there. The day trip outside of Sydney, and Lando
my son was sick.
We get off. We're like taking some pictures. This amazing overlook, and Lando's like, "Dad, how do you take a selfie?" And I'm like, "Well, son, you just take the phone and then you hit that button so it turns around this way so you can see yourself, and then you just take it." And I'm giving it to him while he does it, and like Lando takes his first selfie. So that's not the number 1 moment of the year, but it's a moment that encapsulates the type of things that you want to happen. It's like, I ushered in my son's first selfie on an overlook in Australia.
Now, it's funny that Lando's hesitancy to take pictures, let pictures be taken of himself, led to him being 8 or however old he is before he took.
Yes.
I got selfies of like non-talking Lock and Shepherd, like just like picking up the camera and
because he refused to have his picture taken. He wanted to be a ghost. Now he welcomes pictures being taken of him. I mean, again, that's another facet.
Quality.
Another facet of that memory is that he's changed and developed, in terms of his self-confidence. That like, there's all these things wrapped up into this goofy selfie that he took. Where he's like, he's got that funny selfie look on his face. So yeah, that whole thing. That whole trip is my number 1, and it was just, man, we've carved out time in 2019 for us to have extended vacations, and we're kind of earmarking some of that time and trying to figure it out. So it actually led to that, like, okay, let's go big.
Well, I think
carve out some time. So to create more.
It shows you that. First of all, one of the great things about travel is because it shakes up your normal routine, it tends to be the thing that you remember when you look back because it broke you out of your day-to-day.
Right. I even heard someone say, man, this was on a podcast. I'm sorry, I cannot remember who said it, but it was great advice. Someone's dad said, giving financial advice, that there's only a few things you should go into debt for, but one of those should be vacation. It's like, you can justify going into debt for a family vacation, which, the eyebrows raise a little bit, right? But it's like—
that's a provocative thing to say.
It is.
And that's why I said it. But the thing that I have thought about this year is, when I think about what I'm spending my money on.
It wasn't the only, there was another thing.
I have thought that like, this feels, if we're paying for a trip, if we're paying to I've got some exciting stuff I'll talk about later because it's not happening anytime soon, but paying for travel in my mind is I'm not gonna go into debt for it, but it's justified. I'm like, you look at the price tag, but you're like, yeah, but I'm creating this memory. So yeah, I think it's definitely.
I don't know what your number 1 is. Better be good.
Well, my number 1 is therapy.
Is that it?
Yeah. Now, therapy for me did not start in 2018. It started the very, very tail end of 2017.
Okay.
I've talked about it a little bit. But the thing, again, I'm self-conscious anytime I talk about it because I feel like it's one of those really LA things to talk about, and I know that we're out here in LA in this bubble, and you can kind of forget what it feels like to not be here.
Yeah.
But interestingly, I would say that again, it's kind of very similar to what I was talking about earlier, that you change so significantly, so quickly when you're growing up, and you're going through. You think about how quickly our children are changing as they grow up, and like we haven't changed that much, right? You change in these dramatic ways, both physically, but your brain is changing, and then the way you see the world is changing. And then even in your during your college time, in your 20s, you're experiencing these like just changes in your even in your personality, not fundamentally your personality, but just different aspects. And I kind of feel like in a lot of ways, up until I started kind of exploring these things with the help of a professional, that I kind of just assumed I was going to kind of just be me. You just be the same guy for the rest of your life. I'm like, I'm pretty healthy in general. I mean, I originally went to therapy not because I thought that there was something wrong with me in terms of like the way that I see myself or think about myself. I went because of what stress was doing to me. Mm-hmm. The fact that I kind of let stress affect me to the point that it was affecting me physically. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I just need somebody to help me deal with this. I got help with that, but I think that the breakthrough for me, or the beginning of a breakthrough, is when I started beginning to understand why I am the way that I am, like why my personality is the way that I am, the way that it is, why I'm so independent, and why I can cry while watching a commercial.
The Lion King trailer.
Like literally I started watching, first of all, if you're not watching Dogs on Netflix, I don't know what you're doing. You should watch Dogs on Netflix. It's a documentary series where they profile a different dog and human relationship in every one. And I literally, the first episode, started crying during the opening credits. And then I just cry the whole time every episode.
Is that when they're sacrificing cats, like when the opening credits?
Well, and speaking of cats, let me just say right now, you could not make this documentary about cats, okay?
Hold on, we're talking about your therapy. Let's get back to you.
You couldn't make it.
Don't deflect into the world of cat hate. That was my fault.
I challenge you to make a documentary about the bond between cats and people and all the wonderful things watch Dogs and then tell me that they could do the same thing with cats. They couldn't.
Unless you're about to cry, let's bring it back to you.
I'm in therapy for this, for my cat hatred. But it's interesting because I cry really easily at certain things like that. But then if you ask me things about, and I had a great childhood. I didn't experience like trauma. And but like if you ask me about things that like the most difficult things that I experienced growing up or whatever, I won't cry. I don't have sadness about those things. But I can tell a story about them and make somebody else cry. But yet, so I started learning that like your emotions have to come out in some way. And so for me, I had found this way to kind of deal with them by like, I'm gonna watch this documentary about dogs, but yet not deal with what's going on inside and kind of it's more locked up. That's just kind of the surface level talking about it. But anyway, therapy has been significant for me because it represents sort of the beginning of sort of a second journey in my life of kind of going inside and figuring some things out. I feel like I'm at the very beginning of that, and there's a lot of work. You hear people talking about the work that they're doing, and then you start figuring out like, oh, I need to be working on myself in this way. And it's not just about some of the more obvious things which we've both been doing, which is like getting our schedule in order and making sure that we've got things for the kids, which some of that has been really assisted by therapy, but the like, what is it about me? How can I continue to grow? And then how does that then affect the relationships that I have? How does that affect what kind of father I am, and what kind of husband I am, what kind of friend I am? So that's number one. No specific moment. I won't talk about like a moment in therapy in which I had like a breakthrough. I'll keep that
your private list
between me and my therapist, but therapy as a whole.
To watch more Ear Biscuits, click on the playlist on the right.
To watch the previous episode of Ear Biscuits, click on the playlist to the left.
And don't forget to click on the circular icon to subscribe.
If you prefer to listen to this podcast, it's available on all your favorite podcast platforms. Thanks for being your mythical best.